Owner financing and seller financing are similar. They both involve the seller of a property providing financing to the buyer. However, there is a subtle difference in the terms that are used. Owner financing typically refers to a situation where the current owner of the property is providing the financing to the buyer, whereas seller financing refers to a situation where the seller, or previous owner, of the property is providing the financing. The key difference is that owner financing takes place when the owner is still the legal owner of the property, while seller financing is when the seller had already transferred the ownership of the property to the buyer. An example of an owner financing strategy is a contract for deed. This is where the buyer makes monthly payments on a property and receives the title only after the full purchase price is paid. The seller retains the title, i.e. ownership, and full responsibility for the property until then. An example of a seller financing strategy is where a payment plan is created between the buyer and the seller. The title, i.e. ownership of the property, is then transferred to the buyer. The seller normally takes a charge over the property to act as security for the outstanding payments until the full purchase price has been paid. In practice, however, the terms are often used interchangeably regardless of whether an owner financing or a seller financing strategy is being used. Both parties need to have legal documents drawn up and both parties are exposed to certain risks. It's important for both parties to consult with legal and financial advisors to ensure that the transaction is structured in a way that is beneficial for all parties involved. How does that compare to vendor financing? Vendor financing is similar to owner financing and seller financing in that it involves the seller of a property providing financing to the buyer. However, vendor financing typically refers to a situation where the seller is selling for business purposes even if they are an individual, and the property is more likely to be a business or commercial property. In vendor financing, the seller, or vendor, provides financing to the buyer in order to facilitate the sale of the property. The buyer then makes payments to the seller, typically with a promissory note and mortgage or deed of trust as security for the loan. The terms of the financing, such as the interest rate, length of the loan, and monthly payments, are typically negotiated between the buyer and seller. It's important for both parties to consult with legal and financial advisors to ensure that the transaction is structured in a way that is beneficial for all parties involved. Loan servicing is an important function in the financial industry as it helps ensure that loans are repaid and that lenders and investors are able to recover the funds they have lent. Lenuity Pro is an online service that manages the administering of a loan throughout its life cycle, from origination to repayment. This includes tasks such as collecting and processing payments, maintaining accurate records, and enforcing the terms and conditions of the loan agreement. It is really important for the borrower as it allows them to have a point of contact for any questions or concerns related to their loan, and for the lender-investor because it gives them freedom, making a complex set of tasks a passive hands-free investment.